On the morning of April 1st, I woke up to reports of Kilauea beginning to erupt. This was the 16th episode of a series of eruptions that started on December 23rd of last year. These eruptions began as the usual small fountains deep within the caldera, but as they continued, the fountains grew taller and taller. This eruption prompted me to embark on one of the most spontaneous, last-minute, crackhead, and exciting photography missions yet. I quickly booked my tickets, grabbed a cheap rental car, and made my way over to Hilo, watching the webcams the entire time. I left Oahu around 10:30 in the morning, with the volcano still bubbling at a low level. I flew over to the Big Island and saw a huge plume of smoke rising up from Kilauea, and by the time I touched down in Hilo, the fountaining had begun. So, here we are, chasing the lava fountain. It started, I think, like around 11:30, I want to say, is when it started. And the last time the fountains were going, they were going for about 9-ish hours. So the clock is ticking. We're just gonna make our way over to Kilauea, grab some supplies, grab some food, grab some drinks at 7-Eleven on the way, and then book it up to Kilauea. Hopefully there's parking, and then we'll hang out there until, basically as long as we can. So the game plan, I think, for tonight is, essentially, because it's currently fountaining like crazy, I want to get up there as soon as I possibly can. So I'm going to try and get up there, park the car, get hopefully some good parking since it is still kind of daylight. It's the middle of the day. Hopefully people will still be at work. Leave most of the gear inside and just walk out and try to take some quick shots just to get them out of the way. But then once I get those shots, and maybe we'll hang out for a few hours until the sun sets, the sun goes down, we get some shots during the blue hour, and during the evening time, we'll head back to the car, relax, chill, have some dinner, rest and recover, and then maybe try and drive to a different location to try to see if we can grab the Milky Way. Rises around midnight, but there is reports that it's supposed to be pretty cloudy tonight, so we'll see. But yeah, very, very last minute, very spontaneous and super duper rushing, and didn't really put a whole lot of thought into it. I just said book the tickets and let's go. And yeah, here we are in Hilo. Hopefully we'll be able to get some good footage of Madame Pele today and tonight. Typical eruption traffic. I think that's going to be the hardest thing about photographing this eruption, is dealing with this traffic. Because these things are so infrequent and they don't last very long, everybody and their mother is rushing over to volcanoes to try and photograph this thing, including myself. First parking lot, it's not looking pretty. Although the second parking lot didn't look too bad, so we'll see. It's a game of inches, baby. Got it. Holy shit, look at that thing go. That's beautiful. Holy smokes. That's nice. Alright folks, out here at Kilauea, that's the volcano erupting right behind us. And that's a gigantic crowd of, probably I'd say about 100 of my closest friends. So we're hanging back here a little bit further away. I think it's a cool shot to actually get the crowd of people in front of the volcano. It kind of adds some nice scale to the shot. I'm just taking some video real quick. We'll probably take some stills a little bit later. But yeah, what a fantastic view of this eruption happening right now. That's pretty epic. Alright, so we've got a couple of things going on here behind us, or with our current setup. Happy that I remembered to bring the 100 to 400 and my second Alpha 1, the original Alpha 1, because this one is primarily, I think, going to be taking
video, like 8K and 4K 120 video of the volcano. Primarily just gonna get some B-roll of the volcano. I don't think time-lapsing this eruption is going to make too much sense, primarily because everything and all the action is happening so fast. It's really not gonna make for the most visually appealing time-lapse. But what I am gonna do with my main setup behind me, with the Alpha 1 Mark II and the 300mm G Master, is occasionally you'll see Kilauea or white-tailed tropic birds fly in front of the lava. So I'm gonna try and see if we can get a shot of them in front of the lava, because that would be a cool shot. 600mm is probably not enough, but we're still gonna give it a shot anyways, and hopefully we'll be able to get something good. We're gonna have to go up close and try to get as close as we possibly can to the crater to reduce the distance between us and the birds. The volcano view is not gonna change, but hopefully we'll get a little closer to the birds in the process.
It was extremely difficult to get a clean shot of these guys due to the atmospheric haze by the heat created by the sun and lava. I did, however, get lucky with just a few frames. After moving up to the lookout, I suddenly found myself surrounded by 100 of my closest friends, so unfortunately that meant I was too socially overwhelmed to do any vlogging. Fortunately, one of those people was the lava legend himself, Bruce Omori, who was nice enough to share a spot with a loser like me. Initially, the cloud cover over Kilauea was pretty heavy. This allowed me the opportunity to focus on grabbing shots of the birds and the volcano itself. However, after a few hours, those clouds began to clear, revealing Mauna Loa in the distance. As sunset approached, I decided to set up a camera for a time-lapse. The mixture of clouds and fog created the perfect conditions for these epic sun rays to poke through, right behind the erupting fountains. The sunlight quickly was snuffed out by the clouds, turning golden hour into blue hour. Personally, my favorite time to capture the volcano. This is because it's dark enough to capture the glow of the lava, but still lit enough to make out the details of the surrounding landscape. As it got darker, we could really start to see how high these fountains actually were. Reports say that they reached over 1,000 feet in height. As the darkness increased, the patterns in the lava became more and more distinctive. I particularly enjoyed when these fountains began forming what I like to call the echo, where you can clearly make out the layers amongst the individual fountains. Once we were engulfed in total darkness, we could really appreciate how tall these fountains were without the ambient daylight. The windy conditions actually worked in our favor by scooping up the fiery ash into the air, creating beautiful patterns in the night sky. Well, still going, but I've exhausted all of my camera batteries. I do have an extra set in the car, so I'm gonna go and grab that and charge up the rest and maybe find a better lookout. But the north vent shut off towards the end of the evening, so might not have very much longer to shoot the eruption. But I don't know if you guys can tell on the Pocket 3, but that sky looks pretty clear. Hopefully it stays clear, because if the volcano shuts off, we should still get a little bit of lava glow left,
but then that means it'll be dark enough, hopefully, to shoot some Milky Way. So yeah, we'll see how this rest of the evening goes. You gotta charge up, rest and recover a little bit first. Oh. Well, guys, we are here at Kilauea Overlook. The volcano is still erupting. It's 11 o'clock. We have an hour before it's possible that Milky Way rises. I don't know if, the skies kind of look clear, but it's kind of hard to tell. Can't even see a whole lot of stars from this angle because the volcano is, of course, still erupting. So, kind of thought about it. I'm like, do I rush to try and get out there to try and shoot some more shots of the volcano while I wait for Milky Way? And then I realized not only are my batteries dead, but I do have a new set of batteries to replace that. So we should be okay on that standpoint. But my SD cards are also full. So I'm gonna be spending the next hour backing up, or at least dumping the cards out onto my laptop at the bare minimum. And then hopefully by midnight, I figured probably couldn't beat any of the shots that I got earlier, I would say. But, if it's still erupting around midnight, then we'll go out and we'll try to see what we can get. But yeah, gonna just do a little photo dump real quick, kill some time, rest and recover a little bit, warm up, because it's starting to get real cold now. Oh man, let me just say, Madame Pele is putting in that work today. It's just past midnight. Skies are relatively clear, but the glow from the lava is just way too bright to shoot Milky Way. I don't think we're gonna be able to make anything out. It's quite pretty out here. I've got my next composition set up, of course, with our iconic Ohia Lehua tree. We took a couple of steps back and we placed where's the tree? Yeah, I think this is a tree right here. And we placed the tree on the right side of the volcano and with the lava fountain just off to the left. Unfortunately, there's these two fellows that are just kind of chit-chatting, sitting right in the perfect spot where the lava volcano is, which, honestly, it doesn't make for that terrible of a result. It actually adds a little bit of, more scale to the shot. But I've got a feeling that they'll probably move relatively soon. Then we'll be able to get some unobstructed shots of the lava, and then I'll probably go run over there for a selfie with my tree. But yeah, it's been one hell of a night so far. I apologize for not filming at the overlook on the other side of the crater. There was a multitude of factors on why I didn't do too much vlogging, too much voiceovers and that sort of thing. As there was just we were just surrounded by a whole bunch of people and a whole bunch of crowds. And, in addition to me not, of course, didn't want to put on a show in front of the crowd of people watching the lava and disturbing everybody. I also met a couple of local legends. Bruce Omori, he's kind of like the main lava photographer here in Hawaii, but it was very nice to meet Bruce. Shout out to Bruce, as well as his friend Derek. Shout out to Derek as well. And then also, Bruce also introduced me to Jack Jeffrey, who is kind of a big deal in the birding community here on the Big Island. So, shout out to Jack. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of him in the future, hint, hint. He does Hakalau bird tours, so I'm gonna try and see if we can head up with him one day. Yeah, I'm appalled. I thought that after the north vent sort of shut off towards the beginning of the night, I thought that this thing was gonna die down, but it's been going strong for over 12 hours, which is great. But they were saying that the previous episodes of this big fountaining and stuff shut off quite rapidly, so you never really know exactly when this thing is going to shut off. But yeah, it's still pretty awesome to see it going so strong for so long. Yeah, a couple of technical lessons from this particular trip. I brought the mother load of camera gear on this trip. Alpha 1 Mark II, original Alpha 1 vlogging camera, ZVE1. So I had 3 batteries in there and then 3 extra batteries, 1 spare for each. That was not enough for the, what was it, like almost 8-9 hours that we were shooting the volcano. So I did bring 4 extra spare batteries on top of that. So I guess a spare total amount of spare batteries was 7. But I had left 4 of them inside the car, thinking that I would probably have gone back to the car in time. So moral of the story is to don't forget the spare batteries. Even though you don't think you're gonna need the spare batteries, you might actually need it. Or just bring less camera gear and bring less shit. That way you can use the batteries more sparingly across the across the camera gear that you're using. But today I kind of wanted to bring the mother load, bring the Alpha 1 Mark I as a secondary body. That way I could free up and kind of focus my attention with the Alpha 1 Mark II on photographing the birds. Yeah, I'm actually kind of happy that I ended up bringing the Alpha 1 Mark I for that reason. But the other piece of equipment that I really enjoyed bringing and that really kind of saved my ass on this trip, this short little one-night trip, is the 100 to 400 G Master. I'm surprised I haven't sold that lens yet because I've been loving using the 300 plus the teleconverters. But from the position that we were, or even up here, the 300 is way too tight for photographing the volcano. You kind of want to be anywhere from like that 70 to like 200 area. Like a 70 to 200 would be great, a great lens to photograph this eruption. And the 100 to 400 kind of filled that gap almost for this particular shoot. And I'm really happy that I brought it along in addition to the 300 GM. I did get some nice detailed shots with the 300 GM and the teleconverters and stuff, but to really get like the main iconic shot of this big gigantic fountain, yeah, the 100 to 400 has been clutch, and I'm super happy that I didn't sell that lens yet. Oh, and also I need to bring more SD cards. I mean, I brought all my SD cards, but again, I left it in the same case as my batteries, the 4 spare batteries. I left it all in the car, so I was fucked, essentially. If I needed to stay at that one particular location for an extended amount of time, I was screwed. So, yeah. Don't forget your shit. Don't forget the essentials. All right, it's showtime, guys. So, the people that were sitting beneath the tree have packed up their stuff and left. The volcano is still going strong. What I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do just a selfie video, and then we can grab stills from that because selfies are selfies. But I think I'm gonna use the ZVE1, put that on the 100 to 400, and then to make it look more epic than what it actually is, but just to make it the most epicness, I'll use my Alpha 1 Mark II. I'll put the 300 GM on, make it look super, super epic. Photographer, long lens, volcano. Yeah, this should be fun. This should be really fun. Yeah, the selfie shots actually didn't come out half bad. They could be better if I had somebody else actually taking the selfie picture for me, but honestly, I think that's pretty good for having it being self-directed. I think I'm just gonna use the rest of this time to focus on grabbing and nailing this shot right here, because yeah, we've got nobody obstructing our view right now. And we've got beautiful fountain activity. It's going up pretty high, almost to the same height as the ohia tree. I think I got some good shots from here, but I don't know what more I can do, if that makes sense. So I think I'm gonna try, there is one tree slightly down there and it's kind of pointing away from the caldera. So maybe if we walk over there, we'll test out the astro capabilities of this eruption. I still think it's gonna be too bright, but I figured it's worth a shot, especially since we have a couple more hours to kill before we have to leave. Well, it is there. I think you guys can see it on the video. It's right above my head. But yeah, you can just, there's just so much orange glow in the sky that, you know, to the naked eye, you can kind of make it out and it looks like you might be able to shoot it, but then once you put the camera on, oh, everything is just blown out by that orange glow. What if I try using a circular polarizer on this night sky? Do you think that would work? It would cut down the light, but also would cut down on the glare. Well, I figured it out, like how I always do. Ended up not needing the circular polarizer, just needed a custom white balance. Standard, or my go-to white balance is always cloudy. So cloudy is usually like a warmer, so it's kind of neutral, but it's on the warmer side of the white balance range. So I just had to set the white balance to incandescent and then cool it down even a little bit further. And now you can actually make out the Milky Way and there's some nice separation between the two. We should be able to adjust it freely in post, but oftentimes when it comes to like Milky Way photography, I find that it's really, really dependent on how you set your white balance in camera. Even though they say white balance can be adjusted in post with RAW files and stuff, I find that if you set your white balance to too warm or too cold, mostly if you set your white balance for Milky Way stuff too cold, then you're not really able to bring back kind of the warmer colors in the Milky Way core. So we'll see how this one comes out. But yeah, just gonna, we have maybe about, it's 3 o'clock. Sunrise is in 3 hours, but honestly, I think by the time the Milky Way rises, it's gonna rise up this way and move more towards the volcano. The closer it gets to the volcano, the more light pollution from the volcano we're gonna get. So I'd say maybe time lapse for an hour at the most, then start making our way back to Hilo. Yeah, so tonight I don't really have anything super motivational, educational. You know, there really isn't a theme to this video aside from the fact that the theme is me just pulling a spontaneous trip over to the Big Island and photographing this eruption. You know, and that's kind of it. I mean, you know, we shared a few technical tips and tricks and, you know, techniques that we were using to photograph this eruption, but not much else, you know. But, you know, I guess the moral of the story, and to just kind of sum this vlog up in a nice little bow, you know, sometimes you really just have to pull the trigger, you know, on these trips, on these spontaneous trips especially. You know, you've got a weekend off, something crazy is happening in your local area, or even if it's like not your local area, but it's a short drive, or a short long drive, or a short plane flight over, you know. Maybe it's a big aurora storm. Maybe it's a volcanic eruption like how we have here. You know, anything like that.
sometimes you really just have to pull the trigger to try and photograph these, maybe not necessarily once in a lifetime opportunities, but very time sensitive, very fleeting moments out here in Mother Nature. And yeah, the good things happen when you do that. Even if, none of these shots come out good, I was able to stand here, witness one of the best eruptions that I've ever seen. And just that experience alone is just, it's more than enough. And the fact that we can take pictures, we can have a good time, we can spend the night underneath the stars, listening to the sounds of a roaring volcano. It's like these moments in life that, you will remember when you're dead or when you're dying or on your deathbed. It's not the moments that you spend at home playing it safe, editing, editing your photos or resting or, that type of thing. It's these spontaneous moments, these spontaneous trips that you'll remember the most, I think. So yeah, the next time something pops up into your mind on, maybe you should go take that trip, even if it's gonna be a one-nighter and you're gonna have to spend all night and you're gonna end up suffering the following day and end up suffering the following next 4 days where you have to work. Pull the trigger, do it. Who knows? You could die tomorrow. My plane could crash on the way back home from Oahu. I sure hope it doesn't, because then you wouldn't be watching this vlog. But life is short. Sometimes you just gotta take those spontaneous trips, But yeah, that's about it for me here tonight, Volcanoes National Park. Beautiful eruption, beautiful night sky above us to end it off. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this type of content, this travel, vacation, a little bit of photography, edumacation, hit that like button, comment below, subscribe if you aren't already. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.